can we get into some of your writing process? So you said you had this idea for quite a while. Did you do you like to outline a lot? Do you start with just kind of you wrote a few things and just kept writing? Like how did that process happen for you?
I lean a lot more towards the discovery writer side of the spectrum.
Mhm.
And so, in general, I'll start off and I'll know there's a couple of plot points I want to hit. But in general, then I just sit down with my characters and we figure out how we're going to get there. And so, for me, a lot of it is it just builds daily, right? So, once I get to this part of the story, then I take some time to think and how do we get to the next plot point or what happens next?
Yeah. Did you do a lot of world building beforehand? Because I'm guessing if it's based off of like future humans, but there's probably still quite a lot to figure out how the tech works and how all that kind of works in the story.
There is a lot of world building, but I don't know, I do still really lean towards the discovery writer side. So I did do a lot of research. I listened to probably like 5 books, like researching things that I wanted for the book, and I did have general concepts. I wanted to include cultural elements of Eastern culture and values. That's one of my characters, the male point of view. And then I wanted that to have a conflict with Western values and culture, and the actual tribes in the book are were picked based on current space budgets. So the idea that if we did have an exodus from Earth, those who had large budgets right now would probably be the commanders of fleets. And so that's kind of how I separated the groups. So there is quite a bit, but I kind of do it while I'm writing also. It's not like a big thing I do up front. I
Hmm.
kind of figure it out as I go.
Yeah, I think that no matter this is what happens to me is I like to outline, but also like no matter how much I outline as I'm writing, there's always something that's like, oh, this is a really cool thing, and then you have to go back and like add it back into everything. So I think like I've been leaning more towards I have a few ideas for some novellas of I'm probably gonna just not really outline those and just kind of discovery write it and see what happens. Um because I think both ways end up being your first draft essentially. Like if you do an
Yeah.
outline, it's really just a first draft that you just
Yep.
didn't write the prose for. So,
Yeah, I've heard it's basically deciding how where you want to do more work. Do you want to do more work up front, or do you want to do more work on the back end, fixing whatever you didn't know because you just jumped in?
yeah. Well, and I think it matters too for like how you write. So I struggle to write if I don't have some idea of where I'm going because then I just kind of I get very aimless really fast. So for me, it helps at least to know like I got to hit a few of these points to get me there.
Yeah, definitely. No, and I like that too. At least having a direction, but also I don't know if I'd like a detailed outline because for me, part of the fun is like I don't know. I'm surprised sometimes, right? I'm like, wow, where did that come from? And that's part of
Hmm.
the fun.
Do you find that your characters kind of all of a sudden they're kind of telling you the story? Because I've had that where I'm writing something and then all of a sudden I'm like, that's not really where I want to take it, but that is what that character would do. And so
Yep.
you just kind
Sometimes
of go
they
with it
just took
anyways.
over. Yeah.
Hmm.
Like, all right, I didn't know that's what we were doing, but you know, that's what you want to do. So,
Yeah, that's
yep.
fun. I've only talked to one, maybe two. I think just one person who said that they don't want to know the ending. Like they just write, but most everyone says they kind of know like the how the end probably will be, at least to give them something to point at.
Yeah, I agree. I know where we're ending. It's kind of the stuff in between all the major plot points that, things can change.
Yeah. How long did it take you to write this book? Did it like I mean I know you said you started it before, but like when you really sat down to like I'm going to really do this, how long did that whole process take?
Yeah, so it took a while in the beginning because I didn't dedicate daily time to it. I noticed that is really where things changed for me. And so I would be like, it's all right, I'm gonna just think it through. And then I realized until I write down what I've already thought through, my brain like doesn't move on from that point. And so I just
Yeah.
like sit there. So it was NaNoWriMo that actually I started moving forward on it. I didn't get the 50K. I think I got 30K. But it was that daily or almost daily discipline of like sit down and work on it and think about it each day. And once I did NaNoWriMo, then I finished it June after that. So there's like quite a bit of time before that where it was really slow. But most of it was November to June. So
Yeah.
8 months. Yeah.
And then so kind of walk through the rest of the process. Like did you find an editor? Did you go back and rewrite it yourself before you did that? Like did you have any beta readers, anything like that?
Yes, to all. So I did set the 7 drafts method. So I actually probably ended up with 13 drafts total that I worked on. And so I started, it's basically start high level. So you work on the story structure, make sure everything's there that way, and then you work your way down. So you do character edits. I have 3 point of view characters, which means I read through it 3 times in the mind of each of those characters, being sure that they always behaved and spoke in a way that made sense for them. And then the like most granular, of course, you're getting down like to the line edits, and then the like the stuff I hate, which is the like agonizing over every word that made it on the final page.
Hmm.
But after I had gone through, I think it was right before my personal line edits, I went to betas, and I think I had 5 beta readers. That was super helpful. I think it's really great to see where things are landing the way you intended versus maybe didn't quite come through the way that you wanted it to, and you just tweak little things to be sure that the whole story is coming across the way that you wanted to. That was super helpful. And after betas, then it did go to an editor. I had an editor for the line edits and then proofread.
Did the editor have anything about the story, like any developmental editing, or just for the proofreading?
So my editor did a beta read. And so it wasn't developmental edits. It was, kind of the same level of engagement as my betas. So all of the development really happened with my drafts and then the beta read.